Hello everyone. Here I am going to discussing about the polarizing prisms. That is, I am taking here example as the Nicol prism as polarizer and analyzer. Okay. First we go to the double refraction Huygens theory. What he says means he gives the two assumptions for the transmitted wave that are known as the secondary wavelets. When the light wavelet strikes the surface of the doubly refracting crystal, each point of the crystal becomes the origin of two secondary wavelets named as ordinary ray and extraordinary ray. The wavefront corresponds to ordinary ray is spherical and the velocity is also same for all the directions. Next, the wavefront corresponds to extraordinary ray is ellipsoid of the revolution with the optic axis as its axis of revolution. This is due to fact that the velocity of E ray is different in different directions. That means for spherical it is same for all direction, but for ellipsoid is there is a different direction. Two wavefronts corresponds to O ray and E ray touch each other along the optic axis since both the rays travel with same velocity along the direction of the optic axis. For negative uniaxial crystal, in which the velocity of O ray is less than the velocity of E ray, that is, spherical lies inside the ellipsoid, then only this O ray velocity is less than the E ray. Then, however, for positive uniaxial crystals, the ellipsoid lies inside the sphere, since in this case the velocity of ordinary ray is greater than the velocity of E ray. Yeah, here shows the spherical wavefront look like this. For a sphere, for ellipsoid revolution should be like this. For negative crystal, this circle or sphere is within the this ellipse. That's why the ordinary ray velocity is less than the extraordinary ray. And see for fourth figure, this is this ellipsoid inside the circle means the ordinary ray velocity is greater than the extraordinary. These four figures shows the for spherical and elliptical, negative and positive crystals. Next, we go to our topic, Nicol prism. Nicol prism is an optical device. Sorry, Nicol prism is an optical device which is used to producing, analyzing the plane polarized light in practice. But what is the principle of this Nicol prism means? And a Nicol prism is based on the phenomenon of double refraction. Already we see double refraction means when unpolarized pass through the prism, we will get two rays, ordinary and extraordinary. That phenomena is the principle of this Nicol prism. Next, how we construct that Nicol prism? It is constructed from the calcite crystal. See this figure before we go into this. This is two calcite crystal prisms. We are cut like this diagonally and which is attached by using the Canada balsam crystal. See, this is PQRS and we cut like P prime Q R S prime. Okay, how we constructed? We have shown this figure. That is the crystal PQRS having the length 3 times of its width and its end of phase PQ and RS are cut such that the angles in the principal section becomes 68 degree and 1 pole in the place of 71 and 109 degree. The crystal is then cut diagonally into two parts. The surfaces of the parts are graded to make optically flat and these are polished. Thus, polished surfaces are connected together with a spherical special cement. That cement as Canada balsam. See in this figure, here this O ray is internally reflected and extraordinary ray get transmitted from this crystal. Next, how it will work, the Nicol prism, how it will work. When a beam of unpolarized light is incident on the phase P prime Q and it gets split into two refracted rays, one is ordinary ray, another one is extraordinary. These two rays are plane polarized whose vibrations are right angles to each other. And the refractive index of the Canada boson being 1.55 lies between the ordinary and extraordinary 1.4864 respectively. And it's clear from the above discussion, the Canada boson layer acts as a optically rarer medium for O-ray and it acts as an optically denser medium for extraordinary. That's why the diffract index is difference between those two. That's why this Canada boson acts as for rarer medium for ordinary ray and denser medium for extraordinary ray. When ordinary ray of light travel in calcite crystal and enters the Canada boson cement layer, it passes from denser to rarer. Moreover, the angle of incidence is greater than the critical angle. The incident ray is totally internally reflected within this crystal and only the extraordinary ray will transmitted through the prism. Therefore, finally, what we say, we will get fully the plane polarized wave which is generated with this help of Nikon prism. Next, Nikon prism as a polarizer and analyzer. How we will see here. In order to produce and analyze the plane polarized, we have to arrange two Nikon prisms. See here, two Nikon prisms P1 and P2. The principal axis is same for P1 and P2 for A diagram. For B diagram, we will twist it like 90 degree. Second one P2 Nikon prism I am twisted 90 degree. Again, it get a 180 degree. It will come to the same position like that. When the beam of unpolarized light is incident on the Nikon prism, emergent beam from the prism is obtained as plane polarized, already we have discussed, and which has vibrations parallel to the principal section. This prism, therefore known as a polarizer, and this is polarized beam fall on the another parallel Nikon prism P2. Those principal section is parallel to the P1, then the incident beam will behaves as an extraordinary ray inside the Nikon prism P2 and gets it completely transmitted through it. This way, the intensity of emergent light will be maximum. That means, from the first prism, we will get the we will get the extraordinary ray, but that extraordinary ray has the incident ray for second Canada boson or a calcite crystal, that is P2. And last we will get transmitted to P2, that is again a maximum intensity of extraordinary. See here, from second case what we get for O-ray, why? Because of it is in 90 degree. The intensity of extraordinary ray for in the second case is 0. Only we will get ordinary ray. For third case we will get again extraordinary ray. Then now Nikon prism PT is rotated about its axis. We note that the intensity of emerging light decreases and becomes 0 at 90 degree rotation of the second prism, that is P2. In this section, the vibrations of E ray becomes perpendicular to the principal section of the analyzer. Hence, this ray behaves as an ordinary ray for the prism P2 and it is totally internally reflected by the Canada boson layer. In this fact, it can be used for detecting the plane polarized light and the Nikon prism P2 acts as an analyzer. If the Nikon prism P2 is further rotated about its axis, the intensity of light emerging from it increases and become maximum for the position when the principal section of the P2 prism is parallel to the P1, that is figure C again we are seeing. Hence, the Nikon prisms P1 and P2 acts as a polarizer and analyzer respectively.